This is the BioCentury Show. Brought to you by the 24th BioEquity Europe, scheduled for May 2024 in San Sebastian, Spain. Join BioCentury EBD Group and Regional Host Committee Chair Isios Capital for biotech's premier CEO and investor conference in one of the culinary capitals of the world.
Hello, I'm Steve Usdin, Washington editor of BioCentury, and I'm really looking forward to my conversation today with Rob Perez, an operating partner at the private equity firm General Atlantic. Rob has experience in the biopharma industry at every level, from working as a sales rep to serving as president and CEO of Cubist Pharmaceuticals before its sale to Merck in 2015. Along the way, he's gained a great deal of insight into the biopharma ecosystem and really about American society. Of particular relevance for today's conversation, he's the founder and chairman of Life Science Cares and co-founder of Block, Biopharma Leaders of Color. But Rob, I want to start, if you don't mind, just briefly with your personal story, because most of your peers come from affluent families, they attended elite universities, and your story started a little bit differently, didn't it?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you, Steve, to you and to BioCentury for having me. Much appreciated. Very much appreciate the chance to share my story with the audience. So, yeah, my background is a little different than I think most of the executives in the biopharma space. In that, grew up in Southern California. Was born in Inglewood, California, and attended Cal State LA, a state school that educate students from pretty much inner city situations, and worked my way through school for 5 years on nights and weekends. And so it was not the kind of path that many, I think, identify with. Though I will say there are a lot of people who have come to the industry through many different circumstances. I think one of the things that drives me, however, is this industry was completely foreign to me. I had no idea what the pharmaceutical industry was, had no access to it, no relations or friends in it. I learned of a job as a sales rep for what was then Stewart Pharmaceuticals in South Central LA through an ad in the paper. So when I was looking for a job, I saw, as I was graduating, an ad in the paper for $27,000 a year and a car. And I was like, boom, that's it. I'm in. I've always wanted to be in pharmaceuticals. It's great. So that's how I got in. I absolutely lucked into it, and then lucked into this amazing life and this amazing career, with this industry, and feel a lot of passion towards giving back to others who may have not been as fortunate or lucky as I've been.
So that gets to what I want to talk about, Life Science Cares. Your personal background, I imagine, your experiences informed you, maybe led you to create this organization. What are its goals, and how's it seeking to achieve them?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, Life Science Cares is an organization intended to impact poverty in the geographies where the life sciences industry are really focused. So we are started in Boston in 2016, but now in 5 different communities: Boston, New York, San Diego, San Francisco, and Philadelphia. And so in those areas, we partner, we essentially utilize the resources of the life sciences community, both human and financial, and then partner with the best nonprofit organizations doing work in poverty in those geographies. And we basically sit down with them and talk about how we can help as an industry, bringing our unique talents, our unique passion towards improving humanity and trying to help out our communities in that way. So we really focus on 3 areas of poverty, Steve. The first is basic human survival. So hunger, homelessness, nonprofits doing work in those areas: opioid addiction, health equity, et cetera. The second is education, and we define that broadly, from early ed all the way up through college success and college entrance. And then finally, access to economic opportunity. So nonprofits that do work in kind of breaking the cycle of poverty, job training, job creation, et cetera. So those are the areas that we focus on. We find the best nonprofits to partner with in those areas, and then we bring kind of the resources of the industry to bear on trying to help those organizations do what they do bigger and better.
So the connection between life sciences companies and education, particularly STEM education, and advancing career opportunities, that's obvious. But the focus on basic survival needs isn't obvious. It isn't the first thing you'd think that life science companies would gravitate to. How did you pick that, and what's been the reception among life sciences executives and staff toward working in that area?
It's a terrific question. And frankly, when we were getting started, it was the question that probably had the most controversy. Hey, why don't we just focus on STEM? That's obviously right in our wheelhouse. And I guess I had a very strong point of view that for a couple of things. One is, as companies, none of us make it alone. And we all are part of a broader community in which we live and work. And within those communities, there are people who are benefiting from the knowledge society that we're all benefiting from, but there are also people being left behind, and the gap between haves and have-nots, unfortunately, is growing substantially in our communities. So in those places, we do have a commitment to the people who are driving our employees to work, people who are cleaning our offices, working in our cafeterias, et cetera. They're still a part of our community, as well as those working in the basic services of our communities. And those folks still have a part of our success. So one of the points that I made to people was, we do have a commitment and responsibility to our communities broadly, not just the people who are going to be working in our labs and our employees. The second is, the passion that exists within the life sciences community is extraordinary. Everybody who gets into this line of work, which is super hard, gets into it because they really do have a passion to make a difference in humanity, make a difference in improving human health. And I guess the Trojan horse aspect of Life Science Cares is, we can tap into that passion, that humanity, and use some of it to help those who are currently in need, right? So currently impacted by poverty. So those two things really made a difference.
So I've heard from some senior life sciences executives, they say, really, corporate philanthropy is a distraction, that the best way that they can serve society is by focusing exclusively on developing medicines that are going to help people. And I've also heard from some, frankly, who say that increasing shareholder value, that's what they're about. That's what their goal is, and everything else is a distraction and something they shouldn't be doing. I'm sure you've heard those arguments also. Yeah. What's your response to them?
Well, the pendulum has swung over the decades, right, in this area, from a time when it's all about, kind of shareholder value as measured by stock price, versus, I think most recently, for example, I think the corporate roundtable was more focused on all of the constituents that are part of a company. My personal belief, and this is my experience as well as an operator and as a leader, is the more the company engages in a broader view of what its impact is, both towards shareholders, which is obviously exceedingly important, but also towards the other constituents that we serve and with whom we impact, including our community, the better you're going to perform. So a great example is at Cubist, we believe very strongly in our impact on the community, and we leaned in to the service that our employees can provide to companies and causes that were important to them. Because of that, we got extraordinary employees, people who selected Cubist because of that commitment. And our culture was extremely tight, and it's something I think is well known in the industry in terms of the culture that we had at Cubist and the amazing connection we had with our employee group. So we operated better because we saw the world broadly and saw our impact on the world being more broad. So I think ultimately having this focus on broader constituents is going to lead to higher shareholder value because you get more engaged employees, you get customers that know that you care about the world, and ultimately you get better results for your shareholders.
And I think that's especially true. That's especially true with younger people who are really interested in being able to make an impact, an immediate impact on their communities, not just the very long-term impacts that sometimes it can take in biopharma. One of the projects that you've undertaken at Life Science Cares is called Project Onramp, where you provide paid internships in life science companies for college students who are under-resourced and underrepresented. Awesome. What are you trying to achieve, and at what kind of scale have you been able to operate?
Yeah, so this is one of our most proud achievements. For the most part, we work through nonprofits that are already existing with already proven programs that we can support. With Project Onramp, we saw an unmet need that we thought we could fill with our own program. So we did believe that it would be great to have some sort of a training ground, or at least an access point for underserved students to be able to get the chance that I lucked into, to understand this industry, to know that it exists, and to have a chance to get that all-important first paid internship in a life sciences company. So we started this a few years ago in Boston. And these are all students who are Pell Grant eligible, so significantly impacted by poverty, who get their first chance to work in a life sciences company. And that includes both lab positions and clinical positions, but also, positions within the business departments and marketing departments and regulatory throughout the entire industry. And it's been a huge success. So last summer, we had approximately 300 paid internships across the industry. And this attracted the attention of an anonymous donor who challenged us to see how we can make this even bigger. So we have a plan in place to take the program to greater than 1,000 students per summer across all of our Life Sciences Cares affiliates. And we're in the process of building that plan currently. So we still have a number of dollars, about $1 million left to raise to be able to hit our objective to fund this over the next now 4 years. So I will be asking folks to continue to step up and contribute, because we have an opportunity, I think, to tap into a talent resource that we've not tapped into previously with a lot of these students. There's tremendous talent in these schools that we're not usually kind of focused on, tremendous talent in these students that we've not tapped into previously. And in a business as hard as ours, we need to access talent from everywhere. And I think this is a chance for the industry to do that. So we're very excited about Project Onramp. And
you mentioned that you're trying to raise $1 million for that. This is probably a good time to mention that you've got an agreement with the Gilead Foundation for matching contributions that come in around JPM. Can you talk about that?
Thank you. Yes. So coming up at JPM, we have a lot of things going on with Life Science Cares, but our friends at the Gilead Foundation and Real Chemistry as well we have a session at the conference, as well as an outreach to have people donate to Life Science Cares, and the Gilead Foundation will match up to $250,000 of that outreach. So people can donate to whichever Life Science Cares affiliate they would like to, as well as donate to Project Onramp and our national effort as well. So they can pick which part of Life Science Cares they want to donate to, and Gilead's going to match all of those donations around JP Morgan. So our hope is that people will think about JP Morgan maybe a little bit differently, think about it as a chance to elevate the compassion from our industry, not only have it be the connective tissue that it currently is for the industry, but also use it as a way to give back and really make a difference for people in need.
Well, great. Well, thanks, Rob. We're going to have to take a little bit of a break now. When we come back, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the really fascinating things, and I think really important things that you've talked about in some of your postings online about social justice, about diversity, and other issues. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
For more than 20 years, BioEquity Europe has been where CEOs and investors gather to network, partner, and debate critical issues facing the biotech industry. In 2024, BioEquity heads to San Sebastian, Spain, in Basque Country, May 12th to 14th. Join BioCentury, EBD Group, and Regional Host Committee Chair Isios Capital in one of the world's culinary capitals for a destination event designed for CEOs, investors, and decision makers across the global biopharma ecosystem. In 2023, 300 VCs and 330 biotech CEOs joined BioEquity in Dublin, Ireland. In San Sebastian, the program will feature more than 100 emerging biotechs that will present their story to investors and potential partners. Don't wait, last year's BioEquity conference sold out. Visit bioequityeurope.com for more information.
We're back with Rob Perez. Rob, you wrote a powerful piece and posted it on LinkedIn. I think it was in the immediate aftermath of George Floyd's murder. One of the things that you suggested to your peers is that for every intern they hire from a family friend or colleague, from their alma mater, or the usual ways that they find young talent, that they should add one person of color or a person from an underserved socioeconomic community to fill a similar role. What kind of response did that receive?
Well, generally, it's received a great response, and we've talked a little bit about Project Onramp, and I think this is the fact that the industry has gotten behind Project Onramp doesn't surprise me in the least. But one of the things that has surprised, I think, me and the companies that have been involved in Onramp is how impactful they have seen this new kind of source of talent to be. I always appreciate hearing from the students about their experience, but it's been surprising to me how often people from companies have come up and said, wow, I had no idea we could find someone this talented at school X or state school Y. We never recruit there, and we would have never found this person in our kind of current recruiting environment. So again, the whole purpose here is not just philanthropy when we talk about Onramp and bringing on students to give them a chance. There's great talent out there. I know that. I know that in my career I got lucky, but there were a lot of other people who were just as talented as I was, if not more, just as smart, who didn't have the same luck and never had the same access to this industry that I had. So the purpose of that comment, the purpose of Onramp is to give people access, give them a chance. From there, it's all about merit and what they can provide. But without expanding our catchment, we're never going to really see or really get a chance to experience the talent that exists out there.
So this is flowing into a kind of a cultural maelstrom, right? There's a vigorous backlash against efforts to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in business and in academia. Former biotech executive Vivek Ramaswamy has made it opposition to DEI a core part of a presidential campaign. Why do you think there's been that backlash? And why do you think, you've said some of the reasons why you think diversity is an important goal for life sciences companies, but how do you think that can be communicated? And just generally, what are your thoughts about this backlash? Why is this such a controversial issue?
Well, it's a controversial issue in the world of a political world that is using many of these social issues as political issues. And your show is not long enough for me to get into all of those. But what I can say is I do think that sometimes it gets used politically, but if you just think about the benefits to the business, it really isn't a political question or even a social justice question. I have my views on it as the benefits towards social justice, but that's not the reason to kind of get involved in giving people access. I thought Mark Cuban had a series of tweets this week, or X, whatever you call it now.
Yeah, with Elon Musk. Yeah.
And he spelled out beautifully the benefits that he sees in DEI. And he wasn't talking at all about, hey, it's the right thing to do. We have to do this in terms of giving people a chance because of past injustice. He talked about the benefits to business. And I think that's where we need to stay. I truly believe that when you have a business as hard as ours, and I would argue many, many businesses, you want advantage anywhere you can. And the idea that you can say you're only going to have people and talent from certain parts of society suggests that there is no talent outside of that. And that is where I have a problem with. Go ahead.
You've also written some things, I think, in some of your posts, and I'm sure in your communications with your peers, that really reflect your perspective and your background that are different from other people. One of the ones that I found really fascinating, and actually I learned a great deal from, was some of you wrote something you said, "Know before you invoke woke."
Yes.
And you wrote about the term, and you said that it's been chosen because of its connection to the Black community. Can you talk about that just a little bit? Because I don't think that a lot of people have the insight into it that you do.
Yeah, well, I hope people will read the piece, because essentially what it says is that the word woke has been attached to the African American community for decades. And again, without getting overly political, which we don't have time for in this interview, what people may not appreciate is when the word woke is being used, there are a lot of people of color who kind of hear that you're basically saying Black, or it's been associated with the Black community for so long that it's hard to disaggregate those things. So for the people who have just adopted it in this common vernacular, the point of the piece was to say, hey, think a little bit, because to many, it is a term that has been kind of associated with the African American community for many, many decades. And you should understand that people have a sensitivity to it that maybe you don't appreciate. So that was the purpose of the piece. Look, the idea now that there are these cultural or culture wars happening within our political system is something that's far bigger than me and you. What I'm trying to do is to make sure that people, as they're thinking about, particularly people who have an open mind to lots of different points of view, at least they have an understanding of where folks might be coming from with some of these issues, and that was the point of that piece.
One of the things you also wrote about that I thought was really interesting, and I think it's important, especially for people who are in leadership roles, is you wrote a whole piece about the energy that it takes to be different in a work setting.
Yes.
Even one that embraces diversity. Yes. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and frankly, that piece may have gotten more feedback and energy than anything that I've written. And I think it's because there are so many people who feel different in the work environment. And different, I said in the piece, different is in the eye of the different, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to be in a, quote, protected group. It could be whatever the difference that you feel. But for those who do feel different, kind of what I wrote about is what others should appreciate. For the people who don't have to go through this kind of different environment, they need to appreciate the energy that is expended when you're different. And let me give you an example of what I was talking about. When you're different in a meeting session, and you have a point of view to provide in that meeting, if you're not different, chances are you just react. You say your point of view, and that's what you do. When you're different, you tend to have this whole filtering system that says, okay, if I say it this way, how's that going to be perceived? Is someone going to take this the wrong way, etc.? So there's a whole amount of energy and processing that goes on that takes time, that takes energy, and can be exhausting over a career. And if you talk to people who have been different in that setting for a long time, it's women in the boardroom, it's people of color in the management suite, et cetera, they will really relate to this energy tax, if you will, that you have to pay when you're different. So the point of that piece was to say, frankly, to the people who don't have to pay that tax, be aware of it, be sensitive to it. So you have an appreciation of all the things that are going on, because it's not to say that people aren't complaining about it. They're not saying that it should be stopped, or there should be some government program that stops that energy tax, if you will. But it is something that people should be aware of, and that piece, I think, got a lot of attention and a lot of comments from folks that say, yeah, I get it. I get what you're talking about there.
Yeah, no, I think so. Look, the biopharma industry has a terrible reputation, right, among the public. One of the very few things that politicians, we've been talking about a little bit about politics, the only thing that really unites politicians in Washington on the left and on the right and in the middle, they all agree their antipathy toward companies
All
that
hate us
discover and manufacture medicines. That's it. We brought the political spectrum together. And it has an effect. It has an effect, I think, on people's companies' abilities to recruit and retain people who wants to work in an industry that's reviled, and it has an effect on the public policy environment and policies that get created in Washington that arguably hurt the industry and hurt society because it makes it more difficult to develop medicines. What do you think the industry can do to repair its reputation?
Yeah, look, this is a huge question, and one of the questions that the panel that we're doing at JPM is looking to address. I don't have all the answers, but I think Life Science Cares is one of the answers. And one of the things that we can do is show the compassion and humanity that exists within this industry. I think the biggest misperception about our industry is the fact that I know in my bones, I know from the 30 plus years I've been in this business, that people get into this industry first and foremost because they care about making a difference for humanity, making a difference for patients. Is there a financial objective? Sure, but there are other industries where you're going to make more money. There are other industries that are easier. This is a really hard place to be, lots of failures, et cetera. So the reason to get into it is because you've got something that's driving you that's beyond just your typical career decision. And tapping into that to be able to show not just what we do with impacting human health, but impacting today's issues, I think is one of the things that will be most kind of impactful and most kind of defining for our industries, to show people, hey, look, these folks really care about the world and care about their community. So one of the things, the reasons number 1 through 10 of why we did Life Science Cares is because we wanted to make a difference for people who were impacted by poverty. But reason number 11 is it also will show the broader community what we're really about as people and as an industry, and show that, hey, there's that life sciences industry again, caring about the world and doing good in their community. So I do think that Life Science Cares is a great way, and better, frankly, than the ads that just show, hey, this company helping out an old couple because of the drug that they created. That's great. But what's going to be more impactful for people outside of our industry is to see the good work that we do each and every day. That is included in our day job and what we do in the community. And that's one of the reasons that we started Life Science Cares.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that those advertisements actually help anything, or that any of the pharmaceutical industry's TV ads help the reputation of the industry at all. But that's another issue. One of the other things I think that Life Science Cares does is it shows the scale of the industry, right? I think most people don't understand how many people work in life sciences. Well, I think it's like 100,000 just in Boston.
Yes.
Do you think that what you're doing also can be scaled or can be adopted by other industries?
It is my personal vision, and the thing that I'd love to see accomplished before my run is up, is that this effort inspires other industries. What I'd love to see is a competition between industries to say, who can impact the world and our communities the most? We have the model. I think we're proving that it's working. We have work to do. We're not there yet. But I would love to see other industries do the same, come together as leaders, as companies, as industries, and essentially in that grassroots effort, make a difference for those in need. I've had conversations with governors and with mayors talking about this, that if I were a governor, I was a mayor, this is one of the things that I would do to try to enroll my private sectors into making a difference for those in need. It doesn't have to be government related. It has to be tapping into the compassion that exists within the industries already. So I think in life sciences, we have the ability to lead here. And with continued success, I think other industries will want to do this. And ultimately, I'd love to see a competition between industries to see who can make the world a better place the best.
Well, great. Well, thanks, Rob Perez. That's all the time we've got, and I think that's a really good note to end on. So thank you, and thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for talking to me today.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated, and thanks to BioCentury.
Brought to you by the 24th BioEquity Europe, scheduled for May 2024 in San Sebastian, Spain. Join BioCentury EBD Group and Regional Host Committee Chair Isios Capital for biotech's premier CEO and investor conference in one of the culinary capitals of the world.